Welcome back to the Get Up Studio. I'm Andy, this is Philip. Today we're going to share our thoughts with you on the SkyTrak launch monitor, the original SkyTrak launch monitor.
We're going to talk about the accuracy, quality, and then we're going to talk about compatibility as well.
We've had this launch monitor for about 4 or 5 years now. It was our first launch monitor, so we put a lot of hours in on the machine itself, and we've had some good times with it.
Yep.
So we're going to be able to give you a good, in-depth, honest review, and it is also a more budget-friendly launch monitor, so that's a good thing too.
Let's get into it.
Let's do this.
We have the menu set up right now. We're going to go through and probably select the practice range for now.
So you do have Course Play, which is available with SkyTrak. We don't have that set up right now, but you can pay an extra subscription fee. I want to say it's about $250 to add that to your subscription.
And
then also, yeah, somewhere around there. And then also with the SkyTrak device, whether it's the original SkyTrak or the SkyTrak Plus, you do have to pay an annual membership or subscription fee of $130, I believe, to be able to use this device. So keep that in mind.
And SkyTrak has had a lot of updates over the last year and a half or so, guys. So
Yes.
We are reviewing the old hardware
Yes.
with the new software that they have updated.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
You will see, just like if you watched our ProTee VX video, we had to offset the software to match our hitting mat. That's why everything's kind of pushed to the right. So we're going to hit some shots for you. We'll hit some chips. We'll hit some full shots. We'll hit some putts and show you a little bit of everything on the SkyTrak launch monitor. Philip, why don't you start off with some chips?
Yeah. Hit some chips.
So you'll notice here with the SkyTrak, there's a laser, a red laser that's on the floor. You do have to put your ball on that dot. There are cameras. There's a camera in the device, and you want to make sure the logo is facing that.
One thing I want to point out, Dad, is we've noticed this when we first got the machine, but your shoes do play a factor in
Yes, they do.
in picking up the ball. So I'm wearing white shoes right now, so
Kind of dirty white, but if you're wearing bright white shoes, there will be misreads.
a lot more often. Yep.
Yes. You'll also notice there's a slight delay after he hits the shot.
But still,
Not bad.
I can sit here and
Yep.
hit some chip shots, and
It's great. Yeah, so again, if you have like bright white shoes on, the reason why it sometimes will not read your shot is because the golf ball contrasts against the background of your shoes. It can't pick it up.
yep. And that's another thing to hit on too is lighting.
Yes,
is a
lighting
huge
is very
thing.
critical with the SkyTrak. You got to make sure that your lighting on your hitting area on the golf ball is very well lit.
Yeah, if this golf ball is way too bright, it'll have a lot of misreads, and if it's not bright enough, definitely pushing everything today.
So like I mentioned, guys, we've had the SkyTrak now for 4 or 5 years, and this was our first launch monitor that we purchased, and we've had a lot of great times on this machine.
Oh yeah.
But we have noticed, and we want to give you an honest review here, we have noticed that it has some pros and cons, just like any device that's out there. I would say let's just kind of check off some of the cons. White shoes, for example. You have friends that show up and they've got their white shoes on, and it can cause some problems with not reading the ball. But it also, there's other things that happen, like you'll hit a great shot and it doesn't read it. And why? I don't know. And I don't think anybody else does either. It could just be the technology behind it for whatever reason.
Hey, but sometimes you hit a bad shot and it doesn't read it.
Yeah, you get a freebie if it doesn't read it, right? A bad one. So,
which is nice.
So I would say those are some of the cons. I will also say it because it is a floor-based unit, you can see that the golf ball is only about, 12 to 15 inches away from the unit. So if you shank the golf ball really bad, it could hit the device and damage it. We did have a protective metal case. I just took it out of there for this presentation today. But you can buy protective cases for that. So if somebody does shank it, it protects it.
Right, which we've had in multiple cases.
It's happened many times, yes. What are some other things that you would say are some of the downsides, if you would?
Yeah, I think you hit on the main things. I mean, it can be hit with the ball if you do a bad shot, which you can buy a case for it. The white shoes.
There's a little bit
I would
of a
say
delay,
the delay.
Yeah,
I would say the delay of the launch. Because here's the thing: sometimes you do hit a shot, and you got to wait for it to register. And sometimes you're thinking, did it even register?
Right.
But not because it doesn't ever read shots, but just because you never know, right?
Right.
But that, yeah, I think you hit on the main cons.
And you can see there on the screen, obviously it's giving you the data points that you want. Your carry distance, your total distance, your average carry. Down at the bottom there, it's showing his ball speed, club speed, launch angle. I think it just, see right there is a good example. It just read a shot for some reason there.
Yep.
Again, it's done that before. That actually leads me to another con, if you will, putting. Now, in golf, the golf simulator world in general, putting is not really one of its biggest things.
No, definitely not.
On any device. But on the SkyTrak in particular, I would say the putting is not that great.
Yeah.
Some people might disagree with me, but from my experience, it hasn't been that great. Especially because we have this fiber built turf. You can see there the dark patch of green. That's a taller grass that you're supposed to simulate taking a divot, on real turf. But the problem is when you hit a putt on that, it doesn't roll true. And so the SkyTrak gets all the spin mixed up and it doesn't read it right. So,
yep.
So I would say putting is definitely on the con side of things with the SkyTrak.
Now we're just being real here, guys. It's not a bad launch monitor. It's just, you get what you pay for.
You do. That's what I'm going to say. You get what you pay for, just like with anything else in life. So if this is within your budget, and the price on the SkyTrak compared to the ProTee VX is a lot cheaper, and we'll get into that. So if it's within your budget, I'm going to tell you it's a great device, okay? And we'll go into that more. It just has some cons, and we'll talk about some of the pros because there's a lot of pros with the SkyTrak as well.
Yeah, I think the first one that we could talk about would definitely be the price point.
Price point is definitely a pro.
Definitely when you shank it. It actually read that one.
So here's one of the things with the SkyTrak that you're not going to get. It does not provide you with any club data. So it's not going to be able to tell you exactly like you came from the inside, you came over the top, in to out, out to in, those types of things. It's going to read the golf ball. It's going to give you your spin rate on the golf ball, your side spin, your back spin. And I will say, because there's a misread right there, but you are going to get I feel like you're going to get really good ball data. I've used this machine. I've hit thousands of golf shots on it. And I've also gone out to the driving range to compare what it's like in real life compared to the SkyTrak. And I feel like it's pretty accurate. I really do. It's actually helped my game a lot over the past few years to be able to practice at home. But not just that, you can play golf on it as well with your friends and family. So it's a really cool device to have at a nice price level.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounded pretty solid.
Yeah, I just pushed it right. It's a gap wedge. It's probably going to go like 85 yards or so.
86
89.
carry.
I don't hit my gap wedge too far.
You can see his ball speed, club speed, like we talked about. His backspin was 92.70. So it does give you some good data. You can also see there, he just dropped his club. You can select right or left-handed right here. And then you can also go in here and select the club you're hitting. Mm-hmm. So Philip's hitting a gap wedge. You can select that.
One thing I do like about this simulator is seeing my launch angles up there on the top right.
Yep.
Obviously, you can see the shot you just hit, but you can see all of your previous shots.
Yep. It'll show your shot dispersion and things like that.
Which is super, super valuable. That was better. Probably pulled it a little bit.
It's right down the middle.
That's cool. So you have a color-coded shot tracer.
If I were to change that to a pitch and wedge,
it's probably going to be different color.
I think it turns green.
Yeah, like a yellowish green. That's cool. That's really helpful too, because if you're working on two different irons or all of them, you can really track down your statistics with each club. Was there a club, Dad, that we struggled with the most on this thing? Was it driver?
Driver, but I would say putting was the biggest
Putting is
struggle.
the main.
Sometimes driver, because you're swinging at such a high speed that it has a tendency. I've read a lot of reviews on the SkyTrak back before I purchased it, and there were several people saying that once your swing speed gets up or your ball speed, I should say, gets up past 150, they've noticed that it's a little wonky. It's not one to read as much.
Right.
But I don't have to worry about that because my ball speed's not that high.
I have a little more trouble, but yeah, I mean, I'm all over the place, but at least we're getting you guys an idea.
Here, I'll hit a few. I'm going to go up to a mid-iron,
Okay.
and then I'll have you hit some drivers.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah. Hit on a lot of different kinds of golf simulators, and I feel that this is pretty accurate. The only data I can go off of is just feel, how it feels, how it's going on the screen is how it feels to me in my body.
Mm-hmm.
Coming through where I'm hitting on the face. I mean, it feels accurate.
And again, I've tested it. I've hit a lot of shots on this SkyTrak launch monitor, and when I've had those tendencies of missing it right or left a lot, and I've gone to the driving range, I'm missing it the same direction. So it does tell me it's pretty accurate. And then like if I'm hitting a snap hook a lot or a pull hook, that's what I'm playing on the course too. So that tells me it's pretty accurate. Guys, I'm going to switch to a Callaway ball with no markings on it. It just has the logo to show you that that works too. I actually might personally find that the regular golf balls work better than the picked golf balls. Why that is, I don't know. There's also been people that have said, don't use colored golf balls on the SkyTrak. I've used colored golf balls and they work fine. So you're going to get varying opinions out there. I'm just telling you what has worked and what hasn't worked for me. All right, I'm hitting a 7-iron here.
All right.
I'm going to try to hit it. And then my back. Did you hear that? It was like pop, pop, pop. Holy cow. Okay. All right, I'm going to hit a 7-iron here. There you go. See, I didn't touch the golf ball and it just took off.
So that's a con. You could be playing around with golf, and that potentially happens, and so you have to do a mulligan.
Yeah, it's good that this is happening to show them,
Yeah.
you know, that it can happen sometimes.
It's not perfect. No simulator is
No.
perfect, but sounded pretty solid. Not too bad.
Not bad.
I will say that the SkyTrak driving range has one of my favorite tracers.
Yeah.
The way it traces the ball,
The way it follows it.
the way it follows it is one of my favorite.
That was pretty good.
And then
Honestly, I don't think I could hit a 7-iron better than that.
Right, that was great. How do you feel, Dad, about going from the ProTee VX to the SkyTrak right now?
So there's a big difference, obviously. The first thing I notice, like in the moment, is the amount of time it takes for the ball to take off on the screen.
Yeah.
ProTee VX is like that compared to the SkyTrak,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
Again, if you don't have a simulator at home, you're not going to really notice those things as much. But
Yeah.
if you play it on different simulators or different
Yeah.
launch monitors, you're going to pick up on it more.
yeah,
And then I'll also say the ProTee VX compared to the SkyTrak, there it goes again, is you get some club data with the ProTee VX.
Mm-hmm.
It's controlled by AI. Go watch our video on ProTee VX if you haven't. But you also get video feedback on your club head and impact. And to me, I mean, that's just a big deal. I love that.
Well, then it really solidifies the truth. I mean, you see that club face coming through.
Exactly.
Like it's what's going on. And
where with this, you don't get the proof
yeah,
club data.
you're trusting the numbers.
Right.
You're trusting the system. Where on the ProTee VX, you can see what you're doing.
Exactly. So what I used to do with the SkyTrak is I have an app on my smartphone that I would set up behind me on the camera behind me.
Yep.
And I'd video my swing and compare it to the ball data on the SkyTrak. And it was a huge help for my golf swing.
There's another misread there.
Every time I walk into it, it wants to
It's weird.
read a golf shot.
It's not that we're putting the SkyTrak down, but there's just different avenues you have to take when you're trying to firm up the data.
Right.
When you're looking at the numbers and you don't feel like it's right, maybe the next thing you should do is take some SloMos of your swing while you're using it to see if it really does kind of add up. So, it sounded really good.
Not bad. Might be a little left. or right.
Oh, well.
I meant right. I'd see now that one right there. I feel like I probably hit it off the heel, but I don't have anything to prove it.
Right. So you're just basing it off feel.
Off the feel.
That's where those SloMos can come in. If that's something you want to do, we would have that shot right there to prove the heel or toe debate.
Let's see if I can catch one clean here. That one felt like it's going left. Yeah.
Not horrible, though. Solid.
Okay.
Most
so I will say
200-yard
this.
7-iron.
I will say this. I was hitting some 7-irons on the ProTee VX earlier tonight, and my carry with my 7-iron on there was about 180-ish, 177, 180-ish. So they got the carry pretty close.
Yeah.
You know, to what I was hitting on that. So that's a good thing. I do feel like the SkyTrak is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
It may be off a little bit on the spin rate, the side spin. Sometimes I feel like it's hooking or slicing more than it probably should.
Right.
So, all right.
I would agree with that.
I'm going to put the 7 up. And Philip, let's hit some drives.
Okay. So we do have, Dad mentioned, we do have a case for the SkyTrak.
A protective case, yeah.
Protective metal case. With that case, there's actually, I'll throw it up in the video here while you guys are watching. There's a level on the top of the SkyTrak, and that is set up so that you can get your SkyTrak level on the ground. But the benefit of that case is not just to protect it, but to also help you level it. There's little knobs in there that you can twist that push on the ground to help you get it level. Bear with me here. I'm trying to figure out my driver. I feel like I definitely healed that one. Now the driver is the worst club in my bag right now. Right next to it is my putter. And I do not feel like that was an inaccurate read.
Okay.
I feel like it was very true to what would happen in real life there. That was definitely right. Definitely right. Yep. Face was open, though, coming through.
Face open, yeah.
Now, I don't know that. I just assume based on the data. But it's still valuable.
High backspin, 4,500.
A little bit better. Still right. Not getting a ton of carry on this thing.
Yeah.
Seems kind of odd.
I think what we'll do, Philip, is let's do a video next time on ProTee VX versus SkyTrak. And so we can kind of give people the proof of how the two launch monitors compare.
Yeah. Definitely thin that one. That's accurate. Sometimes it's not fun when you hit bad shots, but when you know there's other people out there that do it and you're watching them on YouTube right now, it probably makes you feel a little bit better. I'm going to hit one more drive here, see if I can smash it.
Sounded better.
Left, though.
Caught it more solid, though, right?
Definitely more solid.
Carrying a lot.
My gosh. Apparently.
Carried 290, so you hit that on the Cerro face.
Apparently, I hit a 317-yard drive.
And your spin numbers were much better. Your backspin was only 25. Your side spin was 487.
Yeah, but that gives you an idea, guys, kind of those higher ball speed swings. And
yeah, you'll notice with the driver that it didn't misread any of his shots. It read all of his shots. But there have been occasions where I've hit what I felt like was a good drive, and it just didn't read it, so you got to hit it again. So that's a little frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
And then for me, I've always felt like the spin numbers on the driver were not quite as accurate as the irons, but this is stuff that they can also fix over time if there's bugs in the software and things like that. So, so here's what we're going to say. We're going to say accuracy-wise, I feel like the SkyTrak is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'd give it a 7 out of 10 only because I've been able to compare it to how I'm hitting in real life many times, and I do feel like it's very comparable.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I would also say for accuracy, it's mostly on your irons and your chipping and things like that. Once you get into the driver and the putting, it can be a little off.
Yeah, it can be a little off when you get to the putting and driving, but
Yeah. All in all, it's really good.
yeah,
It's
super
really good.
valuable.
And then if you're talking about the quality of the product, it is made out of a plastic material. Nothing wrong with that. But you do have the protective cases that you can buy and put on it like we did.
Yep.
And if you have people that come over and they shank it a lot, definitely want to have the protective case on it. And then if you want to hit on compatibility, honestly, this is probably one of the biggest pros with the SkyTrak.
Yeah, super compatible. You can use an iPad. We used a gaming laptop.
Yep.
That worked great. You can use gaming PCs. I mean, I think you can even use your iPhone.
I think so. I don't hold us to that, but I
Yeah.
think you can. So compatibility-wise, as far as the hardware goes that you need to run the software, it's
Very versatile.
yeah, it's very versatile. And then also compatibility with the different softwares, the simulation softwares. We used E6 Connect, worked great with it.
Yep.
But you can also use TGC 2019. You can use GS Pro and others as well. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but I know there's a lot of different softwares that you can use on the SkyTrak. So that's great.
Yeah.
I'd say that's one of the biggest pluses with the SkyTrak. And all in all, I will say the SkyTrak is a great device.
Yeah.
There's some negatives with it. There's some negatives with any launch monitor out there today. But in particular, we wanted to give you an honest review of how we feel the SkyTrak works. And I think it's a great device, especially for the price range. You can go get an original SkyTrak right now on the SkyTrak website for just under $1,000. So that's a pretty good price.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's super great. And a lot of these other launch monitors are $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, and that's and even more. I mean, the TrackMan's like 40 grand or something like that.
So to be able to go
crazy.
and purchase a device like that and set it up in your home and have a place to be able to go practice or play around in golf in the wintertime or whenever you want is really, really cool.
Yep, super valuable.
It
say I'd give it all a 7 out of 10 overall.
I agree.
Yep.
You guys, hope this was helpful for you today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.